Hey everyone, tonight we're traveling further back than we ever have before. Past the medieval villages, past the plagues and empires you already know, back to the beating heart of the ancient world, a place that built civilization and broke countless lives in the process. This isn't horror. This isn't fantasy. This is history, raw, unfiltered, and very real. The kind of history that makes you realize how fragile comfort truly is. Because the Roman Empire wasn't marble and glory. It was blood, smoke, sweat, and survival. And for most of its people, life wasn't a triumph. It was endurance. So, before we begin, if you find peace in learning how the world really was, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe only if you actually want more. And maybe leave a comment telling me where you're listening from tonight. I always love knowing who's out there in the quiet dark with me. Now, take a breath. Dim the lights. Let that hum of your fan or heater remind you how good you have it. Because tonight, we're stepping into one of the most powerful civilizations in history. And I promise you this, you wouldn't survive a single day in the Roman Empire. You open your eyes. It's not a gentle waking. No alarm clock, no sunlight filtering through curtains because there are no curtains. Just the cold reality of stone walls, the smell of smoke and humanity pressed too close together, and the knowledge that today will be exactly like yesterday. And yesterday was hard. Welcome to Rome. Not the marble fantasy of Hollywood or the pristine ruins of tourist photographs. This is Rome as it actually was. Crowded, loud, dangerous, and utterly indifferent to whether you survive the next 12 hours. You're not an emperor, not a senator, not even a citizen with any real power. You're just someone trying to make it through another day in the greatest empire the world has ever known. And that empire doesn't care about you at all. This is what one day in ancient Rome actually looked like. No filters, no romance, just survival. Let's begin. Before dawn, the smell hits first. The first thing you notice isn't sight or sound, it's smell. Before your eyes adjust to the dim light, creeping through the small window opening, your nose tells you everything you need to know about where you are and what kind of day you're facing. The air is thick, dense with the accumulated odors of too many bodies sleeping in too small a space. Sweat, breath, the chamber pot in the corner that hasn't been emptied since yesterday, maybe the day before. The insula, your apartment building, is 5 stories tall and built as cheaply as possible by a landlord you've never met and wouldn't recognize if you passed him in the street. These buildings are Roman solutions to Roman problems. Too many people, not enough space, and profit margins that demand cutting every possible corner. Your room isn't really a room. It's a space, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet. You share it with your spouse, your 2 children, and sometimes your brother when he can't afford his own rent. The children sleep on straw mats on the floor. You and your spouse share a thin mattress stuffed with more straw. occasionally supplemented with wool if you've had a good month. The walls are thin, so thin you can hear your neighbors on both sides. To your left, someone is coughing, a wet, rattling cough that's been going on for weeks. To your right, a baby is crying. It cries every night, every morning. Sometimes you wonder if it ever stops. Above you, footsteps. Heavy ones. Someone's already awake, getting ready for the day. Or perhaps coming home from whatever work keeps them out all night. Below you, the sound of an argument. Voices rising, accusations flying. You can't make out the words, but you don't need to. Arguments about money sound the same in every language. There's no heat. Rome in winter is cold, and your building has no heating system beyond whatever warmth radiates from the overcrowded bodies and the small brazier you're terrified to keep lit while you sleep, because these buildings burn down with alarming regularity. 3 insulae collapsed just last month. 1 caught fire. The residents had minutes to escape. Some made it. Many didn't. Fire is always a threat. Structural collapse is always a possibility. The building sways slightly in strong winds. You've accepted this, because what choice do you have? Rent is due every month. The landlord doesn't accept excuses. Miss a payment, and you're out. Out means the streets. The streets mean exposure, crime, and a very short life expectancy. So you wake up in your small, smelly, precarious room, and you're grateful for it, because in Rome, even this counts as stability. You sit up. Your back aches. The mattress provides minimal cushioning, and you're not young anymore. Nobody in Rome gets to be old without paying for it in pain. Your spouse is already awake, sitting at the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. This is normal. You both take a moment before facing the day. A moment to remember what tasks await, what debts need paying, what small disasters need solving. The children are still asleep. You let them rest. In an hour, they'll be up and underfoot and asking for food you're not sure you can provide today. You stand. The floor is cold. You're barefoot. Your sandals are by the door, worn leather, resoled 3 times, barely holding together. Through the small window, Rome is beginning to wake. You can hear it before you see it. Voices, cartwheels on stone. The distant sound of a street vendor already calling out his wares. The city never fully sleeps. Even at night, there's movement, noise, life grinding forward. But dawn is when it truly begins. And so do you. You need to relieve yourself. This is not optional. This is biology. And in Rome, biology is a public affair. There is no bathroom in your apartment, no toilet, no privacy. These are luxuries that don't exist in insulae. The wealthy have their own latrines, sometimes even running water. You have a choice: a chamber pot that needs emptying, or a trip to the communal toilet. This morning, the chamber pot is already full. Someone will need to empty it, which means carrying it down 5 flights of narrow, dark stairs and dumping it into the large collection vessel in the alley behind the building. Or, if you're less scrupulous, dumping it directly into the street. This happens more than officials would like to admit. People toss waste from windows. Sometimes they shout a warning. Often they don't. Walking under apartment windows in Rome is a calculated risk. But you're not dumping waste from a window. Not today. You decide to use the public latrine instead. You pull on your sandals, leave your room, and navigate the stairs. They're narrow, steep, and poorly lit. There's no handrail. People have fallen. Some have died from those falls. You take your time. Careful steps. One hand against the wall for balance. The stairwell smells like every stairwell in Rome. Urine, rot, and the faint metallic tang of old blood from some past accident or altercation. You pass other residents. A woman carrying water up. She's breathing hard, sweat already beading on her forehead even though it's barely dawn. She has to do this every day. Multiple trips. Water is heavy. Life is harder. On the third floor, you pass two men arguing over something. You don't make eye contact. In Insulae, everyone knows everyone else's business, but you still pretend you don't hear, don't see, don't know. First floor. Finally. You step out into the street. Rome hits you all at once. The noise, the movement, the smell. The streets are narrow. Buildings lean in from both sides, creating dark canyons where sunlight barely reaches. The ground beneath your feet isn't smooth pavement. It's uneven, often wet with water, or worse, rutted from cartwheels and foot traffic. You navigate around a pile of garbage. Organic waste, broken pottery, discarded food. The city has street cleaners, but they can't keep up. Rome produces waste faster than it can process it. Dogs are picking through the refuse. Rats scatter as you walk past. Both are permanent residents of Rome, as numerous as humans and just as determined to survive. The public latrine is 2 blocks away. You can smell it before you see it. Rome is famous for its public toilets, sophisticated, communal, almost social spaces where citizens gather to relieve themselves side by side while discussing politics, business, and gossip. This sounds civilized in theory. In practice, it's exactly as awkward as you imagine. The latrine is a rectangular room open to the street. Inside, a long stone bench runs along the walls with circular holes cut at regular intervals. 20 holes, 20 seats. No dividers, no doors, no privacy whatsoever. Beneath the bench, a channel of running water flows continuously, carrying waste away to the sewers. This is actually impressive Roman engineering. The water system works. The waste disappears. By ancient standards, this is luxury. But luxury doesn't mean comfortable. You enter. 11 of the 20 seats are already occupied. Men, women, all sitting shoulder to shoulder, doing what humans have always done while trying very hard to pretend this is normal and dignified. No one makes eye contact. Everyone stares straight ahead or at the floor. There's a conversation happening on the far side. 2 merchants discussing grain prices. Their voices echo off the stone. You try not to listen, but you hear everything. The acoustics leave nothing private. You find an empty seat. Sit down. The stone is cold. The smell is overwhelming, not quite masked by the running water below. Toilet paper doesn't exist. Instead, there's a communal sponge on a stick, a tersorium, sitting in a bucket of vinegar and water between the seats. Yes, communal. Yes, everyone uses it. You do what you came to do, quickly, efficiently, without thinking too hard about the process or the lack of hygiene standards. You use the sponge. Try not to think about who used it before you. You stand, adjust your tunic, leave. Outside, you breathe deeply. The street smells bad, but it smells better than that. You head back to your building. The sun is higher now. Rome is fully awake. The streets are filling with people. Workers, merchants, slaves, soldiers. Everyone moving with purpose. Everyone with somewhere to be. You climb the stairs again. 5 floors. Your legs burn by the 3rd floor. By the 5th, you're breathing hard. Back in your room, your spouse has woken the children. They're rubbing sleep from their eyes, asking, "What's for breakfast?" Good question. What is for breakfast? Breakfast. The meal you can't afford to skip. Breakfast in Rome is not optional. It's also not elaborate. You're not sitting down to eggs, bacon, and fresh bread. You're not brewing coffee. Coffee won't reach Europe for more than 1,000 years. You're certainly not leisurely reading a scroll while sipping juice. You're eating whatever you can afford. Quickly, standing up, because work starts soon and work doesn't wait. Your spouse has already prepared what counts as the morning meal. It's sitting on the small wooden table in the center of the room. A piece of bread, some cheese if you're lucky, and olives from the jar you bought 3 days ago. The bread is yesterday's bread, maybe the day before. It's hard. Not artisan sourdough hard, rock hard. You have to soak it in water or wine to make it even remotely edible. This bread is made from cheap grain, probably wheat, but mixed with cheaper grains like barley or millet to stretch it further. Sometimes, if the harvest was bad, it's supplemented with ground chickpeas or even acorns. It's dense, heavy. It sits in your stomach like a stone, which is actually the point. This bread is fuel, not pleasure. It's designed to keep you from feeling hungry for the next 6 hours while you work. You tear off a piece. Dip it in a cup of watered wine. Yes, wine for breakfast. Because the water in Rome, despite all those famous aqueducts, isn't reliably safe to drink straight. The wine isn't what you're imagining. This isn't a nice Chianti. This is Posca. Wine so cheap and sour that it's barely considered wine at all. Soldiers drink it. Slaves drink it. You drink it. Because it's safer than water and cheaper than anything else. It's acidic, vinegary. It makes your mouth pucker, but it does the job. The cheese is small, a sliver. Cheese is expensive. You ration it. The children get a piece each. You and your spouse split what remains. The olives are salty, preserved in brine. They'll last forever if kept sealed. You allow yourself 3. Your spouse takes 2. The children complain they don't like olives, but eat them anyway, because that's breakfast, and there's nothing else. No one is full after this meal. No one is satisfied. You're just less empty than you were. This is normal. Most Romans live in a state of perpetual, low-level hunger. You eat enough to function, barely. True satiety, feeling actually full, pleasantly fed, content, is something you experience maybe a few times a year. Festivals, special occasions, someone's wedding. Those moments when there's meat, fresh bread, fruit, and you eat until you can't eat anymore. But those are exceptions, distant memories and future hopes. Today is not one of those days. Today is a regular day, which means you eat your hard bread, your sour wine, your rationed cheese, and you're grateful you have that much, because you do have that much. Some don't. Through your window you can see the street below. There's a beggar sitting against a wall. He's there every morning, thin, dressed in rags, missing his left arm. A work accident, you heard once, or maybe military service. The story changes. He's not eating breakfast. He's waiting for someone to drop a coin or a scrap of food. Maybe today someone will. Maybe not. Rome is a city of extremes. Unimaginable wealth and desperate poverty existing side by side, sometimes separated by a single wall. In the hills, senators are waking up to elaborate morning meals prepared by household slaves. Fresh bread from private ovens, honey, cheese from specific regions, Fresh fruit, figs, grapes, apples, boiled eggs, cold meats, wine that actually tastes good. They eat until satisfied. Then they begin their days of leisure, politics, and social climbing. You finish your bread, drain your cup. There's no time to sit and digest. Your spouse is already moving, packing a small cloth with bread and olives for later. You'll need to eat again around midday. Something small, just enough to keep working. The children are dressed now. Your daughter is 7, your son is 5. Both small for their ages. Malnutrition stunts growth. This is just reality. Your daughter will come with you today. She's old enough to help, to learn, to start contributing. Your son will stay with your spouse. In a few years, he'll join you too. Childhood in Rome is short. By 10, you're expected to work. By 12, you're nearly adult. By 15, you are adult, with all the responsibilities and none of the protections. You pull on your worn sandals. Check that your daughter's feet are wrapped properly. She doesn't have sandals. Just cloth bindings to protect against the rough streets. Your spouse looks at you. You look back. No words. Just mutual acknowledgement that another day begins. Another day of work. Another day of survival. Another day in the empire. You open the door. The stairwell greets you with its familiar smells and sounds. You descend. Your daughter follows, small hand briefly touching your back for guidance in the dim light. First floor, street, morning sun. Rome is in full motion now. And so are you. Time to work. Work. The weight of empire. Your job is simple. Carry things. Not glamorous, not skilled, not prestigious, but necessary. Rome runs on the backs of people who carry, load, haul, and transport. Without people like you, the entire economy would stop. You're a porter, a laborer, someone who moves goods from one place to another for whatever small payment the sender offers. Some days you work at the docks, unloading ships. Other days you're at the warehouses. Sometimes private citizens hire you to move furniture, deliver purchases. Today you're heading to the Forum Boarium, the cattle market. There's always work there. Merchants arriving with goods, buyers needing deliveries, animals to move, chaos to navigate. You and your daughter walk through Rome's morning streets. The city is a sensory assault. Everywhere you look, movement. Everywhere you listen, noise. Street vendors are shouting. A man selling fresh bread. Another with flowers. A woman with fish laid out on a cloth, their scales catching the light. Their smell announcing their presence before you see them. Fresh mackerel! Caught this morning! Fresh mackerel! Her voice cuts through the general din. She'll shout that same phrase hundreds of times today. Tomorrow she'll do it again. This is her life. This is everyone's life. Repetition. Routine. Survival. You pass a barber's stall, open to the street, no privacy. A man sits in a chair while the barber works on his face with a bronze razor. No mirror, no shaving cream, just olive oil and hope that the blade is sharp enough to cut hair. but dull enough not to slice skin. You've used that barber. Everyone has nicks and scars from Roman shaving practices. Next to the barber, a food stall is opening. A thermopolium, a Roman fast food restaurant, built into the wall of a building, with large clay jars set into a stone counter. The jars contain prepared food, stews, porridge, beans, vegetables, and sauce. The smell is enticing. Your stomach reminds you that breakfast was inadequate. But you don't stop. Can't afford it. That food is for people with slightly more money than you have today. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe next week. Your daughter is walking close beside you. She's quiet, taking everything in, learning how to navigate Rome, where to step, where to avoid, how to move through crowds without getting trampled. The streets are narrow. Some are barely wide enough for two people to pass comfortably. When a cart comes through, everyone has to press against the walls to let it by. Rome has traffic laws. Carts aren't supposed to be on the streets during daytime except for specific purposes. Construction, deliveries deemed essential. But laws and enforcement are different things. You hear a cart approaching, wooden wheels on stone. You pull your daughter to the side, press against a wall. The cart passes inches away, driven by a man who doesn't even glance at you. You're just an obstacle. Furniture of the street. When it passes, you continue. The Forum Boarium is ahead. You can hear it before you see it. The sound of animals, shouting men, business being conducted at volume. You arrive. The Forum is organized chaos. Animals everywhere. Cattle being led through. Sheep bleating. Pigs squealing. The smell is agricultural. Manure, hay, unwashed wool, blood from the slaughter area. Merchants have set up stalls. Some are selling meat, fresh kills being butchered on the spot. Others have leather goods, wool, cheese made from the milk of these animals. And everywhere, men are negotiating, arguing, making deals. You spot Lucius. He's a merchant you've worked for before. Middle-aged, round-bellied, perpetually sweating despite the morning coolness. He deals in olive oil, wine, and grain, imported from across the empire and sold to wealthy households and smaller merchants. He sees you, waves you over. You, porter. I need 3 amphorae moved to a residence in the Subura. Can you handle it? 3 amphorae. Large clay vessels used for storing and transporting liquids. Each one is heavy, even when half full. Full ones are nearly impossible for one person to carry. You nod. I can handle it. Good. 2 denarii when you return with proof of delivery. 2 denarii. Not much, but enough. Combined with whatever else you can pick up today, enough to pay for tonight's food. Maybe even a little extra. You don't negotiate. Negotiation requires leverage. You have none. Take the job, or someone else will. Lucius points to 3 amphorae sitting against a wall. Those. The address is written on the seal. Don't break them. Don't spill a drop. The customer is particular. You approach the amphorae. Each stands about 3 feet tall, with a pointed bottom designed to fit into storage racks or sand. The clay is thick. The contents slosh when you tilt them. Wine, probably heavy. You'll have a rope. You always carry rope. You loop it through the handles of 2 amphorae, hoist them onto your shoulders. The weight is immediate. Your back strains. Your legs adjust. Your daughter looks at the 3rd amphora. Too heavy for her. You'll have to make 2 trips or find a way to balance all 3. You manage it. The 3rd amphora you cradle against your chest, supported by one arm, while your other hand helps balance the 2 on your shoulders. The walk to the Saburo will take 30 minutes, maybe longer with this weight. You begin. Each step is deliberate. You can't rush. Rush means losing balance. Losing balance means dropping the amphorae. Dropping them means breaking them. Breaking them means you don't get paid. Worse, you might have to pay for the loss. Your daughter walks ahead of you, watching for obstacles, calling out warnings. Cart coming, dog, pothole. She's learning. This is her education. Not reading or writing. Those skills are for the wealthy. She's learning how to survive, how to work, how to navigate Rome's dangers and opportunities. You walk through the streets. The weight on your shoulders doesn't get lighter. If anything, it grows heavier. Your muscles burn. Your feet ache. Sweat runs down your back, soaking your tunic. People move past you. Some glance, most don't. You're invisible. Just another laborer doing work that needs doing. Rome was built on labor like this. All those impressive buildings, those roads, those aqueducts, constructed by people carrying stones, mixing mortar, working until their bodies gave out. The glory of Rome isn't really glorious when you're the one carrying it. You pass through the Forum Romanum, the heart of Rome, the center of the empire. Here the buildings are made of marble. Columns rise toward the sky. Statues of gods and emperors look down with blank stone eyes. The Senate House sits imposing and official. This is where laws are made, where speeches are given, where the fate of nations is decided. You're just walking through it, bent under the weight of wine amphorae, trying not to stumble on the smooth marble pavement. The contrast isn't lost on you. Somewhere in one of those buildings, men in togas are debating philosophy, discussing military campaigns, deciding which distant land to conquer next, and you're delivering their wine. Both activities are necessary for Rome to function, but only one gets remembered in history books. You continue. The Sabora district rises ahead. This is one of Rome's rougher neighborhoods, densely packed, loud, slightly dangerous, especially after dark. But during the day, it's just busy. People going about their business, shops open, street vendors hawking wares. You navigate narrow alleys. Your daughter checks the address on the seal, asks for directions from a woman selling bread. Finally, you find the building. A townhouse. Not massive, but respectable. Someone with money, but not senator's wealth. A merchant family, perhaps. Or a retired military officer. You knock on the door. Wait. A slave answers. Male, young, well-fed, a sign of a good household. Slaves in bad households look like ghosts. Delivery, you say. Wine. He nods, calls over his shoulder for someone to verify the order. Another slave appears, older, carrying a wax tablet with what looks like household accounts. They check the seals on the amphorae, confirm the order, accept the delivery. You lower the amphorae carefully. Your shoulders scream in relief. You rotate your neck. Everything hurts. The older slave marks something on his tablet, then reaches into a pouch at his belt. Produces a small clay token stamped with a merchant's seal. Hands it to you. Present this to Lucius for your payment. You take it. Thank him. He closes the door without another word. You're dismissed. Your purpose fulfilled. You're nothing to them. Just a function completed. Your daughter looks up at you. Now what? Now we go back. Get more work. Keep moving. This is your day. All day. Find work. Do work. Get paid. Find more work. Repeat until sunset. There's no lunch break. You eat while walking. The bread and olives your spouse packed. Your daughter gets most of it. She's growing. Needs it more. By midday, you've carried grain sacks, moved furniture for a woman whose husband died and whose apartment she can no longer afford, and helped unload a cart of pottery. Your back is screaming. Your feet are bleeding from blisters. Your throat is dry. You buy water from a vendor, overpriced but necessary. 1 cup. You share it with your daughter. The sun is brutal now. Rome in summer is hot. Stone streets radiate heat back upward. The buildings trap it. There's no escape except shade, and shade is occupied by everyone else with the same idea. You find more work, carry roof tiles to a construction site. The tiles are heavy, fragile. You carry them one at a time, stacked carefully, trying not to break any. The foreman watches you work. He's looking for any excuse not to pay. You give him none. By late afternoon, your body is beyond exhaustion. You're moving on pure will. Your daughter is tired too, sitting on a step, waiting while you complete a delivery. You've made maybe 8 denarii today. Enough, barely. Enough for tonight's food. Enough for tomorrow's rent, if you repeat this tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. This is your life. Every day. Until you can't do it anymore. Until your back gives out. Until your legs fail. Until you're too old or too injured to carry things, and then what? Then you're the beggar sitting against the wall. Then you're hoping someone drops a coin. Rome doesn't have retirement, doesn't have disability benefits, doesn't have safety nets. You work until you can't. Then you hope your children will support you, or you die. Those are the options. But not today. Today you're still working, still carrying, still surviving. The sun is lower now. The heat is fading. Evening approaches. Time to go home, collect your payment, feed your family, rest. Tomorrow you'll do it all again. The invisible hierarchy. Knowing your place. As you walk home through Rome's cooling streets, you pass a litter being carried by 4 slaves. The litter is elaborate, gilded wood, curtains of fine fabric drawn halfway open to let in air. Inside, reclining on cushions, is a woman. Young, richly dressed. Her tunic is dyed purple, a color so expensive it signals wealth from 100 paces. She's fanning herself lazily. She looks bored. The slaves carrying her are sweating, straining. Their faces are blank. They've learned not to show exhaustion or discomfort, because showing weakness invites punishment. They're not people to her. They're furniture that happens to breathe. You step aside to let the litter pass. Your daughter presses against you. You both lower your eyes, not out of respect, out of survival. In Rome, there's a hierarchy. It's invisible, but absolute. Everyone knows where they stand, and if you forget, someone will remind you. At the very top, the emperor. Untouchable, divine, or nearly so. You've never seen the emperor. You likely never will. He exists in a different world. Palaces, feasts, the company of senators and generals. Below the emperor, the senatorial class. Families with wealth that stretches back generations. They own land, businesses, slaves. They make laws. They command armies. They decide how the empire runs. You'll never speak to a senator. If you're ever in the same space as one, you'll make yourself invisible, because if a senator notices you, it's rarely good news. Below senators, equestrians, wealthy, but not senatorial, merchants, businessmen, military officers. They have money, influence, comfort. They're not ruling the empire, but they're benefiting from it. Then, citizens, full Roman citizens, a legal status that comes with rights. The right to vote, though your vote counts for almost nothing. The right to own property. The right to legal protection, such as it is. You're a citizen, technically. Your parents were citizens. You were born in Rome. That status means something. It means you can't be arbitrarily executed, can't be crucified. That punishment is reserved for non-citizens and slaves. If you commit a crime, you have the right to a trial, though whether you get a fair one is another matter. But citizenship doesn't mean prosperity, doesn't mean security. You're still poor, still struggling, still barely surviving. Below citizens, freedmen, former slaves who've been freed. They have some rights, but not full citizenship. They're trying to build lives, but Roman society never lets them forget where they came from. And at the very bottom, slaves. Rome runs on slavery, absolutely depends on it. Estimates suggest 1 in 3 people in Rome is enslaved, maybe more. Slaves are property. They can be bought, sold, beaten, used, killed. They have no rights, no protection, no hope of legal recourse. Some slaves have it relatively better than others. Household slaves in wealthy homes might be well fed, well treated, given education if their master sees value in it. They might even hope for eventual freedom. Other slaves have it worse than you can imagine. Slaves in the mines die within months. Slaves in the galleys are chained to oars and worked until their hearts give out. Slaves on large agricultural estates are brutalized daily. But all slaves, regardless of their situation, share one reality. They're not human in the eyes of Roman law. They're things. You walk past a slave auction on your way home. It's happening in a market square. 30 people on a raised platform. Men, women, children, all ages, all terrified. An auctioneer is shouting descriptions. Age, skills, health, whether they're docile or stubborn. Buyers are examining them like livestock. checking teeth, testing muscles, asking questions about their origin, their training, their history. A child, no older than your son, is sold to a man in a red tunic. The child's mother, standing 3 people down the line, makes a sound, a sob. She's silenced immediately by a guard's hand. They're separated, sold to different buyers. They'll likely never see each other again. Your daughter sees this, asks you quietly, "Could that happen to us?" You want to say no, want to promise safety, but you don't lie to her. If we can't pay our debts, if we're accused of crimes, if things go very wrong, yes, it could. It's true. Roman citizens can be enslaved under certain circumstances. Prisoners of war, debtors who can't pay, children sold by desperate parents. It's not common, but it's possible. And possibility is enough to keep everyone afraid. Fear is Rome's great motivator. Everyone fears the level below them, and everyone fears falling. You can continue walking. The auction fades behind you, but its image stays, because that's Rome. Magnificent and monstrous, advanced and barbaric, capable of extraordinary engineering and casual cruelty. You navigate this hierarchy every day. You know who to defer to, who to avoid, who you can speak to, and who you must pretend not to see. You know that the man in the fine toga walking toward you expects you to move. So you move. Step into the street. Let him pass on the sidewalk. He doesn't acknowledge you. Doesn't even register that you exist. This is norm. Your furniture. Background. One of thousands of anonymous poor people keeping Rome functional. The woman in the litter, the senator in the toga, the wealthy merchant eating his elaborate meal. They all depend on you, on your labor, your sweat, your exhaustion. But they'll never know your name, never care about your struggles, never wonder if you have enough to eat, or whether your building might collapse tonight. You're necessary and invisible. This is your place in Rome's hierarchy, and you accept it because changing it is impossible. The empire is too vast, too entrenched, too powerful. You can't fight it, can't reform it, can't escape it. You can only survive within it. So you do. Religion. Fear wrapped in ritual. By the time you reach your neighborhood, the sun is touching the western hills. The streets are quieter now. People returning home. Shops closing. The evening shift of Roman life beginning. You pass a small shrine built into a wall. It's dedicated to the lares, protective spirits of the neighborhood. Someone has left offerings, a piece of bread, some wilted flowers, a small cup of wine. You pause, reach into your belt pouch. You have a single bronze coin left from yesterday. You place it at the shrine's base. Your dogger watches. Why? Because it's necessary. This is religion in Rome. not belief in the way you might understand it, not faith as a personal relationship with the divine. Religion in Rome is transaction, contract, insurance policy. You give to the gods, so the gods don't take from you. Rome has thousands of gods, major ones, minor ones, gods for every aspect of life. Jupiter for the sky and kingship, Mars for war, Venus for love, Neptune for the sea, Minerva for wisdom, Vulcan for fire and forge. Then, the household gods, the Lares who protect your home, the Penates who guard your pantry, the genius of the head of household, the Juno of the woman. Then, the neighborhood gods, the gods of crossroads, the gods of doorways, the gods of boundaries, and the state gods, the ones honored with massive temples, elaborate festivals, public sacrifices. Every god needs attention, needs offerings, needs acknowledgement. Ignore them, and they'll remind you why that's a mistake. This isn't love. This is fear with rituals attached. You don't pray to Jupiter because you adore him. You pray to Jupiter because he controls lightning. And if you offend him, your building might burn down. You honor Mars not because you're warlike, but because Rome is always at war somewhere, and you want the soldiers protecting the empire to win. Their victory is your safety. You leave offerings for the Lares because if you don't, your household might fall victim to disease, fire, theft, misfortune. Religion is protection, prevention, appeasement. The Romans inherited this worldview from the Etruscans, who believed the universe was filled with divine forces that needed constant management. Make the right offerings at the right time in the right way, and things might go well. Get it wrong, and disaster follows. So you perform the rituals. Everyone does. Every morning, the head of household is supposed to make a small offering at the household shrine. A pinch of grain, a splash of wine, a brief prayer. You try to remember. Most days you do. Some days you forget and spend the rest of the day worried about what punishment that forgetfulness might bring. Public religion is even more elaborate. Massive festivals fill the Roman calendar, dozens of them each year. During these festivals, the entire city participates. Work stops, markets close. Everyone gathers to watch processions, sacrifices, games. The priests perform sacrifices, not symbolic ones, actual animal sacrifices, bulls, sheep, pigs. The animals are led to altars, their throats cut, their blood spilled as offering to the gods. Then the meat is divided, some burned for the gods, the rest distributed to citizens or sold in markets. These festivals are spectacles, entertainment, but they're also deadly serious. If the rituals aren't performed correctly, if the animal doesn't die properly, if any sign suggests the gods aren't pleased, the entire ceremony must be repeated. Rome's success depends on divine favor, or so everyone believes. The empire's military victories, its wealth, its power, all gifts from the gods. Lose that favor, and Rome falls. This isn't theoretical. Romans can point to historical examples, times when the gods were offended and disaster followed. Plagues, military defeats, earthquakes. So the rituals continue, endlessly, repetitively, expensively. And you participate, because refusing is dangerous. Not just spiritually dangerous, legally dangerous. Rome tolerates many religions. The empire is vast. Different provinces worship different gods. That's fine, as long as they also honor Rome's gods. as long as they participate in state religion, acknowledge the emperor's divine status, or near divine status depending on the era, pour libations to Rome, the goddess who personifies the city, refuse, and you're not just impious, you're politically suspect, potentially treasonous. This is why early Christians will face such persecution in the coming centuries. Not because Romans hate new religions, they adopt foreign gods constantly, but because Christians refuse to honor any god except their own, refuse to make offerings to the emperor, refuse to participate in state rituals. To Roman authorities, this looks like rebellion, disloyalty, a threat to social order. But that's still in the future. Today, you're dealing with traditional Roman religion, polytheistic, transactional, omnipresent. You continue toward your building. As you walk, you pass a larger shrine. This one has a priest attending it, an old man in traditional robes. He's performing an evening ritual, burning incense, reciting prayers in archaic Latin that probably no one fully understands anymore. But understanding isn't the point. Correct performance is the point. You pause. Watch for a moment. The smoke rises. The priest's voice drones. The ritual continues exactly as it has for hundreds of years. Exactly as it will continue for hundreds more. Tradition. Continuity. The weight of accumulated practice. This is Rome's strength and its rigidity. Everything is prescribed. There's a right way to do things. A Roman way. Deviation invites chaos. You walk on. Your daughter is quiet, processing the day, learning the lessons you can't teach with words, only with experience. She's learning that work is hard, that poverty is normal, that hierarchy is absolute, that the gods are watching, that survival requires constant attention. These are Roman lessons. The real education. You climb the stairs to your apartment, 5 floors. Your legs are trembling by the 3rd. By the 5th, you're pulling yourself up with the handrail. Your spouse is home, has been home for an hour, working all day at different labor, laundry. Romans generate enormous amounts of dirty laundry, and someone has to clean it. The work is brutal, washing clothes in large basins, using urine as cleaning agent. Yes, urine, collected from public urinals and sold to laundries because the ammonia breaks down grease and dirt. Your spouse's hands are red, raw, cracked from constant exposure to water and harsh chemicals. But there's food being prepared, a pot simmering over a small brazier. The smell is thin but present. Lentil stew, cheap, filling, made with water, lentils, a bit of old bread, some herbs if you're lucky. No meat. Meat is for festivals and special occasions. Your son is playing with a small wooden top someone gave him, spinning it, watching it wobble. Simple entertainment, the only toy he owns. You collapse onto the one stool in the room. Your daughter sits on the floor. Your body aches everywhere, every muscle, every joint. This is how you feel every evening. Destroyed, wrung out, empty. But you're home. You're safe. Your family is here. Tomorrow, you'll wake up and do it all again. But tonight, you rest. Evening, the dangerous hours. As darkness falls over Rome, the city transforms. During the day, Rome is crowded, loud, chaotic, but relatively predictable. You know the rules. Stay out of the way of your betters. Do your work. Don't draw attention. At night, Rome becomes something else, something more dangerous. There's no street lighting, No lamps hanging from buildings. No public illumination except what spills from open doorways and windows. If you need to go out after dark, you carry your own light, a small oil lamp or a torch. Most people don't go out. They stay inside, lock their doors, wait for morning. Because night belongs to criminals, drunks, and the vigiles, Rome's combination police force and fire brigade. And it's not always clear which of those three groups is most dangerous. Crime in Rome is constant. Theft, assault, murder. The narrow, dark streets are perfect for ambush. Buildings press close, alleys twist, escape routes multiply. The wealthy travel at night with bodyguards, hired muscle to deter attackers. The poor either stay home or take their chances. You're staying home tonight, but you can hear the night beginning outside. Voices raised in argument, laughter, probably drunk, the sound of something breaking. These sounds are familiar, background noise, Rome's evening symphony. Your family eats dinner together. The lentil stew is hot, bland, but hot food feels like luxury after a day of hard labor. You each have a wooden bowl, no spoons, you use bread to scoop. When the bread runs out, you use your fingers. No one talks much. Eating requires focus. You're all too hungry and too tired for conversation. Your son finishes first. He's given the smallest portion. He's smallest. Needs least. But he's still growing, still a child. You wish you could give him more. Your daughter finishes her bowl, looks at the pot. There's a little left. She doesn't ask for more. She's learned not to ask. You and your spouse split what remains, not equal portions. You take less. Your spouse worked just as hard today, needs the energy just as much. After dinner, there's a brief period of evening activity. Your spouse mends a torn tunic by lamplight. You check your rope, your essential tool for fraying. Your daughter helps her mother. Your son has already fallen asleep on his mat. The oil in the lamp is running low. Oil costs money. Can't afford to burn it all evening. So activities wrap up quickly. The lamp is extinguished. Darkness fills the room. Not complete darkness. Moonlight and the ambient glow of the city filter through the small window. But dark enough. You lie down on your thin mattress. Your spouse beside you. Your body screams in protest at every position. Nothing is comfortable. But exhaustion is more powerful than discomfort. Outside, Rome's night continues. You hear footsteps in the stairwell. Voices, a door slamming. The baby next door crying, always crying. In the distance, someone shouts. You can't tell if it's celebration or violence. Could be either. Could be both. Then another sound, more concerning. The night watch. The vigils. You hear their boots. Multiple men, moving fast, shouting orders, fire, somewhere. You can't see it from your window, but you can hear the response. The organized chaos of men trying to contain flames before they spread. Fire is Rome's greatest terror. These buildings burn so easily, wood and plaster, packed close together. One fire can consume an entire block, has consumed entire blocks. You lie still. Listen. Try to determine how close it is. Not close, Not immediate danger, but close enough to hear, close enough to worry. The vigiles are shouting, using their pumps, probably forming bucket chains from the nearest fountain. If the fire is in an insula like yours, everyone inside has minutes to escape, maybe less. The stairs are narrow. People panic. Stampedes happen. Sometimes more people die in the evacuation than in the fire itself. You've thought about this. Everyone has. What you'd grab, how you'd get your family out, which stairs might be less crowded. But thinking about it and doing it are different things. And fire moves fast. Tonight it's not your building. The sounds fade. The crisis passes. For you. For someone else, tonight has destroyed everything. Their home, their possessions, maybe their lives. Tomorrow, if you pass that area, you'll see the charred remains, the blackened walls, the gaps in the urban fabric where buildings used to stand. And life will continue. Rome will continue. Because Rome always continues. You close your eyes. Force yourself to relax. Sleep is necessary. Tomorrow demands energy you don't have, so you must find it in sleep. Your daughter is breathing steadily beside her brother. Your spouse is already asleep, or pretending to be. The sounds of Rome fade into background noise. You stop hearing individual voices, individual footsteps. It all blends into the general hum of a city that never truly rests. Sleep comes eventually. Not peaceful sleep, never peaceful. Your dreams, when they come, are about work, about carrying things, about endless stairs and heavy loads and never quite arriving where you need to be. But it's sleep. And sleep is escape. Temporary, incomplete, but necessary. For a few hours, you're not poor, not exhausted, not afraid of fire or collapse or hunger. You're just sleeping. And that's enough. The price of empire. Morning will come too soon. The sun will rise over Rome. The city will wake, and you'll wake with it, and do it all again. This is your life in the Roman Empire. One day, repeated endlessly, with slight variations but fundamental sameness. Wake, work, survive, sleep, repeat. You wouldn't have described your life as suffering. That word feels too dramatic. This is just normal. This is how everyone you know lives. The suffering is so constant it stops being remarkable, becomes baseline, background radiation. You're hungry most of the time, but everyone is. Your body hurts constantly, but everyone's does. You're afraid of fire, collapse, disease, poverty, violence, but everyone is afraid. This is the price of living in Rome, the greatest empire the world has ever seen, the center of civilization, the beacon of law, order, and progress. For people like you, that greatness is abstract, irrelevant. You don't benefit from Rome's military victories. Don't profit from its trade networks. Don't enjoy its cultural achievements. You just carry the weight of it. Literally. All those monuments, those temples, those forums and basilicas and baths, built by laborers like you, maintained by workers like you, supplied by porters like you. Rome's glory is constructed on a foundation of people who will never be remembered, never be honored, never even be counted accurately in historical records. Your statistics, masses, the poor, the workers, the invisible. And yet Rome couldn't exist without you. The senators would have no one to govern. The merchants would have no one to move their goods. The wealthy would have no one to build their homes, clean their clothes, prepare their food. Roman civilization requires inequality, needs poverty, depends on masses of people desperate enough to do brutal labor for minimal pay. This isn't a flaw in the system. It is the system. The empire's expansion creates constant supply of slaves. Conquest brings wealth to Rome, but that wealth concentrates at the top. The emperors, the senators, the equestrians. You get the scraps, the opportunity to carry things, to serve, to survive in the shadow of magnificence you built, but will never enjoy. And this is considered normal, natural, the way things are supposed to be. Roman philosophers speak of virtue and reason and the examined life. But those philosophies are for people with leisure time, people who don't spend 12 hours a day carrying amphorae. Stoicism teaches acceptance of fate, endurance of hardship, focus on what you can control. You're practicing Stoicism every day without knowing the word, accepting what you cannot change, enduring what you must, controlling the small things within your power. But you're not doing it because some philosopher said it was virtuous. You're doing it because there's no alternative. This is your life. This is Rome. This is the price the empire asks of you. And you pay it every day, because not paying isn't an option. The reality behind the glory. History will remember Rome as glorious, and in some ways it is. Roman engineering is remarkable. Those aqueducts really do bring water from distant mountains. Those roads really do connect the entire empire. Those buildings really are architectural marvels. Roman law will influence legal systems for millennia. The idea of written law, consistent application, legal precedent, these are real achievements. Roman military organization is revolutionary. Professional soldiers, structured legions, strategic planning. This is how Rome conquered the known world. But for every shining achievement, there's a dark foundation. For every marble temple, thousands of laborers worked themselves to death. For every military victory, thousands of people were killed or enslaved. For every law protecting citizens, there are millions of non-citizens with no protections at all. Rome is a contradiction, advanced and brutal, sophisticated and cruel, capable of beauty and horror in equal measure. You live in that contradiction. You see both sides, the magnificent forum and the squalid insula, the elaborate feast and the meal of stale bread, the citizen's rights and the slave's chains. And you understand something that history books often miss. Rome wasn't great for everyone. It was great for a tiny minority. For the vast majority, it was just hard, not impossibly hard. People survive. You survive. Your children might survive. But survival isn't thriving, isn't flourishing, isn't the good life philosophers describe. It's just not dying, not starving, not being crushed or burned or enslaved. That's the bar. That's the standard. And meeting it every day requires everything you have. So when someone speaks of Rome's glory, of its greatness, of the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, you nod, because disagreeing is dangerous, and because from a certain perspective, it's true. Rome has brought order to chaos, unified diverse peoples, created systems that work. But you also know the cost. You feel it in your back, your feet, your empty stomach, your constant fear. You are the cost. You and millions like you. The price of empire. The foundation of glory. The invisible majority whose labor, suffering, and endurance make everything else possible. And history won't remember you, won't know your name, won't care about your struggles. But you were here. You existed. You mattered. Even if Rome never acknowledged nightfall, the quiet hours. The deepest part of night has arrived. Rome is as quiet as it ever gets. The sounds have faded to occasional distant noises. Dogs barking, a drunk singing somewhere, the steady tread of the vigiles on patrol. Your building settles. Old wood creaks. Stone expands and contracts with temperature changes. These sounds are familiar, comforting in their consistency. You're awake. You don't mean to be. Sleep came but left again. Pain woke you, or worry, or just the general anxiety that comes with poverty. You lie still. Don't move. Don't want to wake your spouse. They need rest. So do you. But your mind won't quiet. You're thinking about tomorrow, about work you need to find, about the rent that's due in 10 days, about your daughter's feet. She needs proper sandals. About your son's cough, about the crack in the wall that seems to be growing. You're thinking about the future, not grand future, not dreams of prosperity or escape, just the immediate future. Next week, next month, how to keep going. This is what keeps you awake. Not philosophy, not existential questions, just the grinding mathematics of survival. What you earn versus what you need. The gap between them. How to close it. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't. When you can't, you borrow. Go into debt. Promise to pay back when things improve. Things don't improve. But you pay back anyway. Because debt in Rome is dangerous. Lenders are not patient. Consequences are severe. So you work. And work. And keep working. And somehow it's enough. Barely. Until it's not. Then you figure something out. You always have. But each time gets harder. Your body is older, more damaged, less capable. You're not sure how many more years you can do this. The heavy lifting, the long days, the constant strain. What happens when you can't? That question haunts you. Your children aren't old enough to support you yet. Won't be for years. You have no savings, no property, no safety net. When you can't work, you become dependent, vulnerable. a burden. And burdens don't fare well in Rome. You've seen old laborers, the ones who kept working until their bodies failed completely. They sit on street corners now, begging, hoping for charity that rarely comes. You don't want that future, but you can't see how to avoid it. These are the thoughts that fill the quiet hours, dark thoughts, realistic thoughts, thoughts you don't share because sharing them doesn't help. So you lie there, eyes open, looking at nothing, listening to your family breathe, listening to Rome settle into its brief period of relative quiet. And slowly, very slowly, the darkness outside begins to change. Not lighter yet, but different. The quality of blackness that comes just before dawn. The birds know it. They begin to stir. First one, then others. Their songs tentative, testing the morning. Soon it will be dawn. Soon you'll have to get up, face another day, find work, carry things, survive. But right now, in this moment, you're still resting, still horizontal, still not yet facing the demands of daylight. You close your eyes. Try to capture a few more minutes of rest. Actual sleep is unlikely now, but rest, stillness, that's possible. And so you rest in the quiet hours, in the space between night and morning, in the brief pause before Rome wakes and demands everything from you again. This is your life, has been, will be, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. One day in the Roman Empire, repeated endlessly, until you can't repeat it anymore. This is why you wouldn't survive a day in Rome. Not because any single day would kill you, but because surviving required surviving every day. And every day took everything. And eventually, everyone runs out. The cycle continues. The sky is shifting now, deep blue replacing black, stars fading, dawn approaching. You've seen this transition thousands of times. It never gets easier. The moment when you have to move, get up, begin again. But there's something in it, too. Something almost peaceful. The quiet before the noise. The stillness before the chaos. The potential of a new day before it proves itself hard. Rome is sleeping. Not fully, never fully, but as close as it gets. In these final moments before sunrise, the city takes a breath. You take one too. Your spouse shifts beside you, waking, not wanting to, but knowing it's time. Your children are still asleep. You let them rest a few minutes more. They'll wake soon enough, face their own versions of this day. You sit up slowly. Your back protests. Every morning it gets harder. Every morning it takes longer to feel capable of movement. But you move, because you must. Because stillness isn't an option. Because Rome doesn't care about your pain or your exhaustion. Rome only cares that you work, that you carry, that you contribute to the machinery of empire. You stand. Put on your tunic, the same tunic as yesterday, the same tunic as tomorrow. The first light is coming through your small window now. pale, gentle, Roman dawn. It looks the same as it did yesterday, will look the same tomorrow, unchanging, eternal. Rome will outlast you, will outlast your children, will outlast everyone you know. The empire endures. People don't. That's the truth of Rome. Its permanence built on impermanent lives. Its glory constructed from temporary suffering. Its monuments lasting while the people who built them fade into forgotten dust. But this morning you're still here, still breathing, still capable of facing another day. And that's something. Not much, but something. You move toward the door. Your spouse is up now, beginning the morning routine. Water to fetch, children to wake, another day to organize. You pause at the doorway. Look back. Your family, your small room, your small life. Not glorious, not remembered, not important in the grand sweep of Roman history, but yours, real. Here, you step into the stairwell. Begin your descent. 5 floors down, stone steps worn smooth by thousands of feet over years of use. Outside, Rome is waking, the process beginning again. Vendors preparing, workers emerging, the city stirring to life. You join them, one person among millions, anonymous, invisible, necessary. This is your day. This is your life. This is Rome. And you're still surviving it. The sun rises over the 7 hills. Another day begins in the eternal city. The empire continues its slow march through history. And somewhere in its crowded streets, someone is carrying something heavy. Someone is working. Someone is surviving. That someone is you, and millions like you. The foundation of empire, the price of glory, the forgotten majority. History may not remember you, but you were here, you lived, you endured, and in your own way, you mattered. Rome wouldn't exist without people like you. Remember that. Even when Rome forgets. Even when everyone forgets. You were here. That's enough. Rest now. The story is complete. The day is done. Let Rome fade into memory and history. Let the weight of empire fall away. Sleep comes gently to those who've carried enough. And you've carried enough. Rest. Let go. The dawn will come again. Not yet. For now, just rest. Just breathe. Just be. The empire can wait. History can wait. Everything can wait. Sleep now. Gently. Peacefully. You've survived your day in Rome. And that's all anyone can ask. Rest now. Rest.